Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Empowered to Advocate podcast. So excited to be here with all of you today. Welcome back, Dana Marie.
Hello. I know I'm having that mixed feeling right now.
Yeah, I think we're both kind of feeling what all educators and parents and students are feeling right now, that slight cooler undercurrent to the air that's kind of flowing through, and knowing that that means that it's the best time of year, back to school time. But with that being the best time of year, also means feeling some anxiety, some nervousness, some reluctantness, perhaps. So that energy of excitement, but also nervousness, oftentimes go hand in hand. So today, what we're going to talk about are three things that we find really helpful for parents to start thinking about as we transition back to a brand new school year.
Which feels like, quite frankly, we just left it. Like Michelle said, as educators, as parents, as caregivers, as children. Actually, that's a lie. If you're a parent, you might be ready. About that. As a parent, you are likely ready on some level to have your kiddos go back to schools. We do want
True,
to note
true.
that that we realize that's probably the case. But like Michelle said, today we want to just give you a short back to school episode where we talk about sort of our three main things that we encourage parents to do that are pretty simple, but will help just kind of get you in the right frame of mind to start a new school year. With a new school year, obviously comes a lot of things, and it often does mean a new team, a new teacher, maybe it's new specialists, new service providers. For some kiddos, and for a lot of the clients that we work with, it means a new school. It could mean a new district. It could mean
Mhm.
maybe transitioning to a different placement, not in the same district. So there's just so many factors heading into a new school year and things that could possibly be different or change, or just like Michelle said, cause a little anxiety. So we're hopeful that these three reminders are things we know you already do, but they're just three reminders of things that you can do to get yourself sort of set up and ready for the year. So the first one we always like to have our clients do, and parents that we work with, is reflect on last school year. We find that sometimes at the end of the school year, if you live around us, it's usually really mid to late June. It's so frantic for so many reasons. You're, as a parent or caregiver, you're maybe going to end of the school year events and plays and shows and recitals, and maybe there's some end of the school year events, there's field day. The list goes on and on and on. It just feels like there's so much. It's so busy. It's so frantic. And then one day it's just over and summer begins. And so we do encourage you to take time now to kind of reflect on how the year went for your own child. We actually have some of our own clients and people that we work with in August and September use a brainstorming sheet that we've created where we're kind of asking them to think went well last year for their child, their student. Where were some of the snafus, the struggles, the challenges last school year? We've now had a whole summer. So what would you consider at this point your child's strengths? Is there anything they learned over the summer? Is there anything that they did differently? Maybe last year they were afraid of swimming and this year they became a fish. Maybe last year they mostly stayed close to home. Maybe this year they tried a camp for a week or two. So thinking about sort of all of the ways that your child maybe has tried different things too, maybe even grown this summer. And then, not that that's not the important part, but the important part is we then encourage our families, our parents, and our caregivers to set some goals, right? Goals that they
Mhm.
have for their child this year. And sometimes when we hear that word goal, we're like, oh my gosh, like these big, lofty goals. But like, we're talking like, let's set a goal to be prepared the night before school so that we can get out of the house on time 3 out of 5 days.
Mm.
Or we can successfully transition to the bus 3 out of 5 days a week. So just one goal or multiple goals that would make your life smoother, would make your child's transition to school sooner. So that's one of the things that we encourage people to do. Reflect on how last school year went. What were the pros? What were the cons? What were the things that really went well? What are the things that we would like to change or shift this year? And then also to just think about what you hope for your child this school year, in the classroom and out. So that would be, number one, for us, I think, just kind of like taking that pause. This doesn't take a long time. The brainstorming sheet we have parents do sometimes, it's about 15 minutes. I mean, it's really doesn't take a long time,
Yeah.
but it can help you just sort of settle in and start thinking about the new year.
Yeah, I love that. I think that this time of year is a great time for goal setting and thinking about new beginnings. We tend to do that like at New Year's time, but I almost feel like maybe it is because I'm an educator, but it does always feel more natural this time of year to kind of think about those things. It is a huge transitionary period. It is a new beginning. So thinking about and reflecting about what has gone well, what has been not so great, and then what are some ways that we can make it better for the upcoming year, I think feels pretty natural this time of year. It feels less like just another thing to do, honestly. And I know parents out there, you have your hands full, so maybe it does feel like just another thing to do, but just 5-10 minutes, quick little brainstorm while you're having coffee or doing, in between doing loads of laundry, just keeping it simple. And it doesn't have to be this like super long, laborious task. And that being said, a great goal that you hear us talk about a lot is getting organized. And this is number two things to focus on for the upcoming school year, but really taking the time as you're thinking about and reflecting on last year and what you're hoping for this next year, pulling together all of the paperwork that you have access to, especially, I mean, we had suggested that you do this in May or June, but like Dana just said, with all of the millions of spirit days and dress up days and sporting events and recitals and all the things, very easy to just like get things from the school and like throw them in a pile. I'll deal with those later. Now's the later. Now's the time to go through those piles, make sense of what you've received, and just go through and make sure that you actually have all of the paperwork that you need so that you have it for your own knowledge, but also you can share it with next year's teachers and service providers if they happen to not have access to it. And I know that that sounds like, how would they not have access to this? Trust me, you want to just, in all cases, be prepared to show where an accommodation is or where a service is, just in case. Maybe it's somebody new to the job. Maybe the district has rolled over into a new IEP online platform. There's all sorts of reasons, but make sure you have that paperwork in front of you, either digitally or, physical paper, so that you can have it to reference, right? And looking for active IEP, any draft or proposed IEPs or amendments that maybe were sent to you at the end of the school year, whether you have recently signed them or not. Progress reports. Do you have progress reports from all reporting periods of last school year? So if your child receives 4 report cards in a year, they should also receive 4 progress reports based on their IEP goals over the year. If they are on trimesters, then they would have received 3 IEP progress reports reporting the progress on their IEP goals. So you want to make sure you have access to that. And if your child has recently had any evaluations, you want to make sure you have access to those full copies, not just the summary and recommendations. You have a right to have access to the entire report. So make sure you have those. And if you notice that anything is missing from your pile as you're putting things into a binder or into a folder and online or wherever you're keeping yourself organized, this next part that Dana is going to talk more about, building relationships, this is actually a perfect segue for you to send an email to your child's teacher, new teacher, and or whoever is in charge of overseeing the IEP process at your child's school, the team chairperson, the ETL, program manager, principal, any of those people, and say, I was getting organized for this year. I want to introduce myself. And also, can you please send me my child's active IEP? Can you please? So that this feels like a natural way for you to be introducing yourself because you're asking or requesting something.
Yeah, like Michelle said, that's our number 3 today. It's just this like initial building of relationships at the beginning of a school year, which can actually feel a little bit awkward. It doesn't matter how old your kiddo is. Like if you've been doing this for a long time, it doesn't matter if your child has been on an IEP for many years and you've worked with teams like this for a long time. It can still feel a little clunky at the beginning of a
Mhm.
school year to figure out like who's on their team. Are there new service providers? There's a new teacher, but is it there a new paraeducator? I mean, it can just feel a little confusing and a little awkward to like get a sense of who the team is. So that's our number 3 for getting back to school is there are so many ways to build relationships at the beginning of the school year. So you pick what one works for you, but we encourage you to try to do this thoughtfully and try to do this intentionally.
Mhm.
For some of our clients, we help them actually write back to school letters. We have a template that we share with people that we work with, which is a back to school letter that introduces you, but introduces your child to a new team, a new teacher, new service providers. What are their strengths, like we talked about? What went well last year? What did they do over the summer and sort of what you're hoping to get out of this year? That could just be an email, right? It doesn't have to be something super formal, but it's a way to say, here's who I am, here's who my kiddo is, and here's what we're hoping for this school year. That's one way. Another way, like Michelle just said, is sort of this like natural introduction, like I'm asking a question, I'm requesting something, I need something. And also, here's who I am, here's who my kiddo is. We're really looking forward to working with you this year. For a lot of people, right, the way that the school year works and the way that the special education process works, you might not have an IEP meeting or a team meeting scheduled until October, November, December, right? That's a long time.
April.
Yeah, honestly, the spring maybe, knock on wood, everything's going well, and you don't need to meet until the next annual review or reeval in the spring. Getting sort of ahead of anything that might come up now can just be really beneficial. And things that come up can be really small. It can be like, I'm just requesting this specific piece of data. Maybe my child took a benchmark and I never got the results of that benchmark and I'm curious, right? If you introduce
Mhm.
yourself now or in the next few weeks and sort of start that relationship with whether it's like Michelle said, the ETL, the team leader, or the classroom teacher, or whoever's overseeing the special education process, when it does come up in a month from now or 2 months from now, that you're requesting something or you're needing something, or if you do need to have a team meeting because something's not going great, or you have things you want to discuss, you will have already started to sort of build that rapport and build that relationship. And I want to say on the other side, right, Michelle and I spent a combined 15 plus years as team chairpersons, as ETLs, as team leaders for special education, at both the K to 8 level and also at the high school level. We've also spent time as classroom teachers in the general education and special education setting. In all of those roles, I have always appreciated when parents and caregivers open the lines of communication early in the school year in a way that
Mhm.
didn't like the first time we're communicating was because something was going wrong or because
Yeah.
something was missed, right? I really always appreciate it. I think sometimes parents think, "Oh, this is a little annoying. I'm being over the top," like that kind of thing. But I always appreciated opening those lines of communication earlier so that when inevitably something comes up, right? Something will come up. It might not be major, but something will come up. And when that inevitably happens, you've already had a couple of email exchanges, right?
Mhm.
You're already using a lot of school districts use like an online platform system for communication, or maybe you're class dojoing your teacher, right? These are ways to sort of start the conversation that don't feel as big as when something happens. So I can say and speak for myself that even on the other end, as a team leader, as a team chair, as a classroom teacher, as a special education teacher, I always appreciated those Septembers that helped
Yep.
build a little bit of a relationship before like December or January and something was going totally awry. And then we were just trying to like learn who each other was and also solve a major problem at that time. So that's just like anecdotally
Yeah.
from the other side.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so much easier to have more challenging conversations when you actually have already had some like warm up conversations with one another, right? And it makes it feel you're building trust with one another. The teacher's building trust with you, or the service provider's building trust with you, and you're building trust with them. And it's okay. It doesn't matter if the school views you as a squeaky wheel. It's okay. This is your child. It is their education. It is their one chance to receive this education. And we need to be making sure they're getting what they need and what they deserve. So, being that squeaky wheel, being that advocate for your child, asking the questions, and bringing up more difficult conversations when they need to happen sooner rather than later helps to build that trust, and is more likely your child is going to be getting what they need and deserve
Yeah,
over the course of the school year.
that's so true.
So, those are our 3 things that we would recommend that you do right now as you transition back to school, reflecting on last school year, getting yourself organized, and starting to build that strong relationship between home and school, between your child's teachers, between your child's therapists and you, between school administration or special education administration, depending on your child's unique needs. And if you have very specific questions about getting your child off on the right foot this school year, we are offering very special office hours in September and in August for back to school office hours, 45 minutes for $49, where you get to spend time with us. We will help you troubleshoot 1 or 2 bigger overarching challenges or questions that you're having, and then provide you with very clear direction on next steps. So this can be as part of an ongoing working relationship with us, or it could be simply that one 45-minute session might be all that you need. So use the link in the show notes to schedule that with us. And we hope to be chatting with you during one of these office hours so that we can help support you and your child be on the right foot this school year.
And as always, thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, everybody.